Okay. Okay, we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my podcast or the live video with Chris Robey. Today, we're going to talk about health and how you can change in 2023. So for now, I'd just like to wish a warm welcome to Chris. Hello, Chris. Lovely to see you.
Hey there. How you doing? All right?
I'm good. Yes, great. So Chris is basically online health and fitness coach, and also he's MNU certified nutritionist. And that's how our roads have crossed on the MNU conference when we went to learn more about nutrition. And I think what I've seen as well in our really short conversation that we actually share a very similar language and also passion for fitness, health, mindset, and for people to change. So, Chris, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so thank you for the introduction. Obviously, as you say, MNU certified nutritionist. So we kind of took that course, not together, we're on a different cohort, I believe. But yeah, we took MNU as a course, and pretty much over the course of the last 10 years, I have been a coach. Went to college, the usual, and then over the course of the years, just try to upskill in certain areas when it comes to knowledge around nutrition, training, working with clients, just generally doing the work on myself to be able to understand my clients even better. And it's a journey, but I'm here today running a successful business and very much enjoying coaching.
Oh, that's awesome. So what is that you specifically love the most about the work that you do right now, with the knowledge that you gained in all this experience in the last 10 years?
Yeah, sure. So if I'm being completely honest, like it is helping people, and to delve into that a little bit further, like it is quite literally I have conversations with people on a daily and weekly basis about the struggles that they experience when it comes to not just their health and fitness, but also how the struggles they have with their health and fitness actually impacts their mental health, their emotional health, their mindset, their lifestyle, their relationship with themselves, their families, and everything else. So when I work with people and help them to gain control of their physical health and fitness, it's seeing how that actually allows them to improve their mental and emotional well-being, and how that then has a positive impact on their friends, their family, their relationships with other people and themselves. So it's very much a case of helping people go from stuck to striving, and that's exactly what my program name is called, Stuck to Striving. So it's definitely that transformation and watching people go through it.
That's awesome. So can you just tell me, because I think it's like, we are coming across with people who struggle, but how long does it take for people to start making that shift in order that they start noticing that they're progressing towards, let's say, the life that they really want? So what's that period time frame?
Sure. So, I think people can fairly easily, lose their first couple of pounds. But the biggest issue I see, or struggle I see within people, is that they can be quite good at losing a couple of pounds and then they ultimately gain it back. So that long-term transformation that you're talking about, this long-term change in mindset, lifestyle, way of living, and everything else, that doesn't really happen at the beginning stages, because it's like you lose a pound, you gain a pound, you lose a pound, you gain a pound, and people can do this for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. So when it comes to actually coaching with clients, people go through a physical transformation early on in the first month, 2 months, 3 months. But when it actually comes to working with my clients, I start to see, and everyone's different, obviously, but I start to see a huge shift in their attitude towards themselves, the process, their relationship, their ability to kind of be kinder and more compassionate towards themselves. And that usually does come a little bit later down the line after the physical results. So again, it's difficult to say because everyone's different, but I kind of notice this 5-6 months into a program, people really start to see their approach as not just I'm on this diet or I'm doing this thing. It's very much a case of like, this is me, this is who I am, this is how I live, and my health and fitness is now something I value, whereas before it was a case of how can I just drop a few pounds. So there's quite a stark difference between the two.
Okay, yeah, that's what we all kind of come across when people struggle. But what do you think what do you think people struggle the most, especially those who struggle and can't make any difference yet? Did you notice the pattern or the similarity in between people who really, really struggle and can't make any difference?
Yeah, so There could be a few things here, but people who really struggle compared to those who might find it a little bit easier might, like I spoke to a client the other day, and one of the things that was really making it difficult for her to make some serious changes. She's early on in her journey, but for her, it was very much a case of her social environment wasn't supportive of the goals that she wanted to achieve. So she very much had people around her who, it's not that they didn't care, they just didn't understand. So it's like, oh, just have this and just do that, and oh, it doesn't matter if you skip the gym, and oh, one won't hurt, and oh, you're always trying to be so good. And it's just that environment was not supportive for her, so that personally held her back. And so when you compare that to someone else who has an environment, whether that is a coach, a community with people doing working towards the same sort of goals, family, friends who just understand how important it is to someone, there's less resistance, and that certainly allows people to take action and be supported in the process of doing so.
Yeah, so I think the most difficult thing is that people is really how to set the boundaries. It's how to actually explain to, obviously, to the closest friends and family how much what they're doing is so important to them. And obviously, I think most of us actually can really relate to that. But I think it's as well, it's for people really to understand what is important to them and to communicate. To get actually really clear with everyone else is like actually how their words or the behaviors affect them. And so what would your advice be? So someone who is struggling with that. So for example, when you kind of worked with your client, what would your advice be, like if someone doesn't have a supportive environment and they're desperately like needing change? Where would you tell them to start, or how they can kind of make that progress?
Yeah, absolutely. So, environment does dictate quite a lot of stuff. So if your environment isn't, conducive or supportive towards the goal you want to achieve, and also your kind of social environment as well, as I said, there can be a lot of resistance and it can be hard. So it's just about making some really simple changes. Like obviously I would say, like if someone has been struggling for quite some time, obviously as a coach, I would say invest in a coach, because, it's like, that's exactly what we're here for. And like, I personally have a coach as well, so I know the benefit and value of that. But if someone didn't want to take that big step towards just investing in a coach, it could quite literally be something as simple as like, find a friend who might have similar interests, who kind of might also have similar goals, similar struggles, whatever it might be, and just kind of chat to them, connect with them, and just maybe become like a bit of a behind the scenes accountability buddy to just check in with each other, help each other out, make sure you're kind of doing what you said you were going to do, and just be there to support each other. It can be a long, lonely journey if you're kind of doing it alone. So very much having a coach, a team, friends, family behind you who support you and want to help, that makes a huge difference, I would say.
So now just like something popped into my head, and I think it's when people are choosing to do this journey on their own, very often they're going to have that inner voice or doubt or just challenges that they can't overcome by themselves. And just like literally a little encouragement or just support from the side can make just the world of difference. So for example, like if I don't want to go for a run, but if I've agreed with my friend, I don't want to let my friend down, so I'm going to show up. And it does make a huge difference. But did you notice in your work what specifically inspires people to start making that first step, or also that for them to keep going in order to make a significant difference in their life?
Yeah, sure. So it would definitely be to realize that the goal isn't weight loss. Now, when people come to me initially, it is, and don't get me wrong, it is a goal, 100%. Like, if someone's got 1 stone, 2 stone, 3 stone to lose, that is still a goal. But what I mean by what I said was like, when we only focus on the number on the scales, we become hyper sensitive and focused on the number on the scales. So if our weight goes down, we're happy. If our weight goes up, we're not very happy. And that is our only kind of measure of progress. Whereas when people are actually connected to a much deeper reason behind them wanting to lose the weight. So for example, if someone couldn't run around with their children, they couldn't enjoy a social life, they couldn't enjoy time with their friends and family and loved ones and everything else because of the way their weight is impacting them on their confidence or restricting them physically, then actually thinking, yeah, changing your mindset from I want to lose weight because I want to hit X number on the scales towards if I lose this weight, I will have more health and fitness myself, which will allow me to be around for my family longer, be a better parent, and it will allow me to actually go out and socialize with my friends without feeling like I have to cover up with clothes or, you know, jump behind a group photo so I'm not in the face of the camera and stuff. So it's very much a case of thinking about your true, real, deep why, and kind of taking action from that place, which kind of has more meaning rather than just I want to lose some weight. There's a big difference there.
Yeah, I can really kind of connect to that because when I started losing weight, it was just after I graduated MNU. I was like 2 stone overweight, and for me, it was my biggest focus. Is really I just want to be healthy for my children, and it was always like with my mental health. And I completely agree with you. Every single morning, I didn't think about I need to lose weight. It's like I need to get stronger and like mentally more resilient and also physically stronger and more committed towards myself. And literally the weight just started kind of coming down, but not coming from a pressure that I need to change. It's really, as you said, it had really massive purpose behind it. And if people kind of really getting in touch with that, then it always almost kind of find the reason to overcome that initial, oh, I just can't be bothered, because there's something bigger for them to work to improve their life. But I think now it's like we're coming now towards the Christmas. So what is kind of a theme kind of around your clients? Are they kind of getting scared about Christmas and they have achieved always a certain goals? Do they feel panicky? So how do you communicate kind of this period coming for them to kind of just, I'd say, sail through it effortlessly?
Yeah, sure. So kind of as a whole, I think the general theme around Christmas is very much a case of like, there's going to be lots of food, there's going to be lots of drink, and, you know, my results, the hard work I've been putting in, training, nutrition, habits, that's going to take a back seat. And I'm going to give myself permission to not worry about it. I'm going to kind of eat and drink what I want. And then I'm going to enter the new year and basically start again. It's this thing we hear about, like, new year, new me. So we kind of give ourselves permission to not worry too much about health and fitness, because the norms of society say that around Christmas time, you just eat and drink yourself into oblivion. And that's completely normal, right? So I have been very much working with my clients closely over the last couple of weeks and just kind of trying to instill a mindset in them of not needing to follow that norm, not needing to, you know, follow self-sabotaging behaviors, because that's what our family might do, that's what our friends might do, people around us. And we are very much kind of on a different path, a new path, where we want more from ourselves and we want to live by higher standards. So if we want to live by higher standards, we need to practice like living by those high standards. And you know, that isn't to say don't enjoy Christmas, because like I've told all of my clients, like, they have to go and have some good food, they have to go and have some good drink, because it is important. But it's very much a case of just allowing yourself to have that downtime, have that, you know, bit of cake or that Christmas dinner or you know, whatever, but not fall into the mindset of self-sabotaging, because that's just what most people do. And it's a habit. It's just what people do for years and years and years and years and years. And like, it's just like a good habit, you know, this is a bad habit, and it just will continue on unless that cycle breaks, unless we actually challenge that way of thinking. It's always going to repeat. So we very much have to think about how we would usually act, think about how we would like to see ourselves acting around Christmas, and then actually identifying what the difference is and trying to fill that gap with actual action.
So now when you were saying that, for me, it's what I see now with myself, and I always like use myself and my journey to really kind of get in touch. It's like, what is that I'm thinking differently now? Because I'm literally looking every single day. There's no difference. It's Christmas coming. To me, I'm like, every day is a day of the year that I'm taking care of myself. So I think it's for everyone who is listening this, is really to kind of get in touch. It's what makes them feel good. Because I think we both know, like, especially like with MNU, like the knowledge we know about the nutrition, it's overeating will never make you feel good. But, you know, it's okay that happens, like, let's say, you know, from time to time. But when you're doing that consistently, there's no chance that people are going to feel well consuming that amount of food. So I always like to say, for example, for my clients, to really use their common sense and to get in touch with their body, what their body, you know,
Mm.
needs in that moment in time. And I believe, like most of us, if actually when we get in touch with the body, that we will realize that the amount of food that we consume is actually making us feel worse rather than making us feel better. So what would be your so back like New Year resolutions? Are your clients obviously I bet like now you've helped them to change their mindset about New Year and the fresh start. But what is your opinion about New Year resolutions? Do you believe in them?
I think any time to make change is like important. Like, you know, whether someone decides to make change, you know, January 1st or in June or, you know, any other time of year, like I think deciding to make change is a courageous thing to do. You know, there's intent behind it of like, I am going to be different and that is going to be on January 1st. Like there's a thought there to make that change. So I don't want to kind of jump on the bandwagon and say like, oh, you know, like the new year, new me stuff is a load of rubbish. However, we do want to be aware of the fact that if we do have that mindset of new year, new me, but we don't actually take different action to make that different change, as I said earlier, it's always going to repeat, right? So we might think new year, new me, but that actually comes from a place of feeling guilty for the food and drink that we've had and the lack of exercise that we've done. We feel bad about ourselves. We think, oh, you know, I ate way too much or drunk too much and I'm so frustrated with myself. Tell you what, January 1st, new year, new me, right? That's where that comes from. But then the new year comes around and people don't necessarily do anything different to what they've done any other year. So the cycle just happens 5, 10, 15, 20 years in a row, right? So I think it's most important if you are going to make that change, even if it is in the new year, make sure that you are doing something that is actually different to what you've always done. Otherwise, you can always expect what you've always had, which is poor health, poor fitness, and essentially no results, right? So yeah.
So now my question is how people can choose to do different behavior if that's all what they know is, you know, to do the same thing, joining Slimming World or Weight Watchers or joining the same, I don't know, going to the gym or having a workout program. But what do you think is actually the main, like where people actually can find that information, how they can do things differently?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, join my program. Like, you know, I'm only joking. I am only joking. So it comes
There's a lot of truth in that. Come on.
I mean, you know, it can be a bit of a tricky one because it is a case of like, you know, sometimes people are thinking, well, I'm doing Slimming World, I'm training, I'm giving this my best shot. Like, you know, you're telling me to do something different. Like, what is different? I'm trying. Like, how? But the thing to consider is like, if we are talking approaches, some approaches, as we know, can be very cookie cutter and they don't really give people what they actually need. So like humans are complex things, you know, everyone is different. You know, we have different strengths, weaknesses, personalities, like the list goes on. And so you need to put yourself in an environment where your actual needs are being met. Now, a lot of people think they just need to be more consistent and better with their training and nutrition. And that might not be a lie. They might need to be, but that might not be the real underlying issue that is actually holding someone back. So it's kind of like the thing of like trying to fit a round peg into a square hole. It's just never going to work, right? It's like trying to build a puzzle and you've got two pieces of the puzzle. And no matter how you try and build this puzzle, you're never going to build it because you've still got those same two pieces. So it is a case of taking a different approach and think like, what am I actually struggling with here? And some people might think, again, I just need to be more consistent with my nutrition, when in reality, it could be something more along the lines of your social environment, your kind of boundaries or lack of boundaries are actually the thing that's causing you to be inconsistent. So it would be taking a deeper look into someone's actual life, like what makes them tick, the way they live their life, just everything about them personally, which would differ from person to person, and thinking, what is my weak spot? What do I need? And can I fill that by myself? And if I can't, who can I ask that might be an expertise in that area to help me fill that gap?
Yeah, now you're kind of scratching under the surface. That I think,
Yes.
yeah, we both know that that's actually what all the answers are. But I think it's what is good that obviously, like you started now knowing the kind of nutrition and exercise and fitness. But now, actually, because I believe, like you've done what we spoke about, you've done that deeper work. So now you went under the surface. And when you went on, okay, tell me about this. Before you went to work on yourself, on your, let's say, deeper work, what has made you to start looking within or under the surface? What is,
It definitely was having, like, if we're kind of going in a different angle with this, like it was personally having like my own struggles when it came to mental health. And so I didn't really understand too much the way I was feeling, what I was feeling, why I was feeling what I was feeling, and like how to manage it. And, just had so many questions and concerns and worries and thoughts and judgments towards myself. And it sounds a little bit cheesy, right? I kind of thought I knew myself, but I then kind of realized that I didn't know myself as much as I wanted and needed to. So I would definitely say those struggles and kind of that uncertainty around what I was experiencing with mental health, that kind of, I would say, forced me to reach out to kind of speak to someone with like a therapist. And it's kind of an interesting thing, because I went to therapy wanting, an answer, so to speak, for one thing. But you don't get answers, you don't get told what to do. And you actually end up speaking about a ton of more stuff that you didn't even anticipate speaking about. You go to therapy for one thing, you end up talking about 20 other things, right? And I think when I first started to find the strength to open up, and obviously be proud of myself for opening up, and then kind of really realize the benefit of being able to speak up and ask myself certain questions, to understand myself, to figure out what makes me tick, to figure out, everything about me. That was a really exciting journey. And that's why, kind of a year on, I'm still having therapy every single week. And I think that's definitely allowed me to have a little bit of a slightly different approach when it comes to working with clients, because the problems we experience aren't actually the problem, they're usually a symptom. So for example, people think that the 2 stone like 2 stone weight loss that they want to lose, they think the weight is the problem, but that's actually a symptom. The problem is what caused them to gain that weight in the first place. So it always starts with going a little bit deeper and kind of working outwards, rather than focusing on surface level stuff that doesn't actually make that deeper change.
oh, Chris, thank you so much for sharing this. I think
Mm.
I think your message and your experience can truly actually show someone that we don't have to struggle. But I also think that there must be that point in time where we simply feel like, or we can't carry on like this any longer. And I think it's like with your story, and like, for example, I've been through it as well. It's like showing people that, the way through is possible, or kind of the way out. I wouldn't say even a way out. It's just like a journey of evolving, of actually learning about yourself and accepting yourself and being okay with who you are. But so so now I'm just thinking, so you have been now in therapy for a year, and how much would you say you know about yourself in comparison to, let's say, 6 months ago? How much did you learn about yourself in the past 6 months?
Um, if we were to say a year, I would say I'm a completely different person, if I'm being completely honest. And I know, like, that kind of gets thrown around quite a lot. People say like, oh, I'm a different person now. And like, but I think alongside, working with a lot of clients, doing that work on myself, struggling the way I did, and constantly looking to better myself in pretty much every area of my life, I am a different person in the sense I have a much better relationship with myself. I understand myself much better. I have much better coping mechanisms. I'm quicker to reach out. I understand, what's going on a little bit more. And if I don't understand what's going on kind of inside, internally, like in my mind and stuff, I know what I need to do to be able to find that out, or to understand it a little bit more. And like, that journey of, self-discovery, just learning all about yourself in many, many different ways, it makes me, or has made me, realize that I am a completely different person to when I first started therapy and started building a proper coaching business, because I was pretty unaware. I didn't really know about myself that much. I didn't really understand myself on a deeper level. It very much was a case of like, I knew what my surface level needs were, but when it came to kind of more inside, I just didn't know. So that's why I've said, and probably always will say, the struggle has kind of been a blessing in disguise, because it's given me that opportunity to actually find out more about myself. So that's the way I view it.
Yeah, I also think that there is you can't go start looking within if you don't experience that struggle. I think it's just or maybe you're just really lucky that you start knowing all the information that you've learned in the past year. But I think that all of us, just humans, have to reach that point when we truly struggle, and then we start cracking, and then it's like
Yeah.
finding a way how to get through it.
Yeah, I think sometimes it does take kind of being pushed over the edge a little bit for us to kind of have a bit of a mentality like, that's enough. Like, that is enough. I'm not settling for this anymore. I'm not suffering with this anymore. And sometimes that place that we can be taken to, which is a little bit dark and a little bit scary, is sometimes what needs to happen for us to actually create the change that we need. Now, I'm not going to. I was going to say I'm a big believer in everyone has an issue. Now, I don't mean like a mental health issue. I mean everyone has their weaknesses. I still have my weaknesses. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not perfect just yet. Everyone has their weaknesses, right? So I think, like, even if you are in a position where you don't have a huge struggle when it comes to like your mental health or anything like that, I still think if you were to like dig a little bit deeper and think about your flaws, your weaknesses, your struggles, not from a judgy way or like criticizing type way, but just from a, where am I at my weakest, and how can I explore that and go down that path to be able to turn those weaknesses into strengths. So yeah.
That's I always say, like, the journey within, it's always the most beautiful and most rewarding journey that people are ever going to take. So because I think it's like we're kind of slowly coming to an end, but I was just wanted to ask you, so what your advice would be to people who are now entering into or going through Christmas and entering to 2023, and they're so desperate to make a difference on their health. Can you give, what would be your advice for them in order to start changing and like kind of like long term? So for them to be able to kind of start making a difference and to keep themselves on that journey. So what would your advice be on that?
Yeah, sure. So, we could go down the more practical route of, get yourself a training plan, make sure you enjoy it, get yourself a diet, make sure it's flexible, and, make sure you can work on being consistent. Like, we could go down the practical route and give 101 different techniques on how to make the journey happen. But it comes back to what we were just saying about the journey needs to start from a place of, like that mindset of, this has to happen. Like, some of the questions I ask people when I have a call, when we're talking about kind of getting someone signed up, I say to people, like, how much longer is it actually okay to stay in this position for? You've just mentioned about, your physical health, your mental health, your poor relationship with your partner, your kids. You said you were struggling at work, like all of these different kind of struggles people can face. And like, how much longer is it actually okay to stay like this for? And when people have that realization of like, it's actually not, like, this is it now, like I'm done with doing a bit of this, doing a bit of that, following this plan, following that plan, and just going round and round in circles, like, this is a priority and this is going to happen. So I think coming to that realization is important, and actually just realizing putting yourself first is the most selfless thing you can do. Now, I work with a lot of mums, a lot of parents, and they are always at the bottom of the list because their kid comes first, or their partner comes first, and work comes first, and everything else. But putting everyone else first all the time ultimately puts people in a position where they struggle with their health and fitness because they've forgot about themselves. Like they are quite literally bottom of the pile. So it would be making that promise and commitment to yourself that actually working on yourself, making it a priority to put yourself first is not only allowing you to get what you want with your health and fitness and confidence and everything else, but that then also allows you to actually show up better for everyone that you love around you, including your kids, your partners or whatever. So it just would be for me like kind of a fairly long-winded way of going about it, but it would be to just make that commitment to yourself, like prioritize yourself, put yourself first, and realize that like without you, you're everyone you want to serve with regards to kids and friends and family and work. Without you, that can't happen, right? So it has to start with you, and just really realizing that and committing to it, I think.
Yeah, I think this is a great reminder, because I think it's sometimes people just get stuck in their own head and thinking, oh no, I have no time for that. I have so many other things to do. But I think it is like, that's why I think having someone who is going to keep you at the higher standard and keep you accountable for what is important to you, it's just, I think especially if someone is really kind of wobbling and doesn't have, let's say, developed mindset in order to make a decision and just go for it. So Chris, we're coming now down to question. If someone wants to get in touch with you, how they can do that, where they can find you, where they can join your program.
Yeah, like if you want to take that kind of big, and it is quite a scary leap to kind of like join a program and get started. Obviously that is a conversation that can be had, but I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I have a website, but to be honest with you, I much prefer social media because it allows you to portray not only the results in your service, but also like who you are as a person. Because I'm a big believer in people don't buy a service, people buy people. And like I consider myself to be a pretty easygoing, kind person. And like I am just me. I am just how I am in business and with clients. It's same in kind of real life with friends and family and stuff. So like, yeah, if anyone wanted to get a bit more of an insight into who I am and what I'm like, then you could just head over to Facebook or Instagram under the name Chris Robey, and you'll find me there.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much. That has been such an amazing conversation. And I'm glad that you went under the surface, because I think as everyone who's struggling out there, therapy, I'm a big believer in therapy and coaching, and having support that actually someone helps you to get through it and to get to your results much faster. So anyone who is really interested in getting in touch with Chris, make sure you find him on Facebook and Instagram, drop him a message, have a chat with him, so to see what he can provide you and how he can help you achieve your goals. But for now, Chris and I are wishing you a wonderful day, wonderful Christmas, and Happy New Year. So I'll see you all really soon. And Chris, once again, thank you so much for joining me.
Amazing. Thank you for having me on. Thank you.
Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.